Yeah, g'day everyone. Lots of guys have been wanting to see this machine in action. So I thought I'd start off by just sort of running through the control panel and the display and just showing you how it sort of works and some of the settings. So if you haven't heard, this is an AlgoForce new brand. It's an E1500 Pulse Induction metal detector, tuned for very small gold. Obviously, yes, it'll find big gold, but it can use your legacy 5-pin GPX type coils, which is fantastic. So yeah, there's already tons of discussions online. Let's get stuck in and I'll show you a few things. So first up, on the control panel, that's just our power button. Press and hold it and release it and the unit will power on, and it's the same for power off. Then we've got a dedicated button for backlight. There's some different levels of backlight, and then on the outside here we've got a dedicated volume buttons, negative and positive. Now the volume is basically a global volume. It will slightly increase your threshold as well, or decrease it, but you do have an independent threshold level as well. So you should be able to set up the audio exactly to your liking. So you can hear faint signals and to suit different outputs, whether it's wired headphones or wireless headphones, etc. The headphone socket is just on the back here. Then we've got down the bottom here, we've got left and right navigation buttons, which sort of scrolls through the menu options. The center button is our auto ground balance. Then this button here serves two purposes. It's a back button, so it takes us out of the menu onto the main screen, and if we press and hold that from the main screen, it does our auto frequency scan or noise cancel. And then your minus and positive are our adjustment buttons. Now in the default screen, that's linked to the sensitivity adjustment. So when we turn it on, your minus and your plus is for adjusting our sensitivity. So we'll power it on and we'll give you a look. Okay, I'll zoom in so you can see the screen. Okay, so here's our screen. We've got a little speaker icon here which shows us our audio volume. So on the control panel, if we hit minus, now we've muted it, we've gone to 0, and if we hit the plus, we increase our audio. There's 9 levels, which is great. Now that's a bit loud, so I'm going to turn it down. Okay, so over here is our sensitivity. So without adjusting anything else, if we go to our plus, we'll increase our sensitivity. if you noticed, what we've got in the middle of the screen is a little real-time scrolling audio waveform, and the little thin line at the top of those peaks is our threshold. So when those audio signals go above the threshold is when we get a signal response. So if I turn the sensitivity back down, you should see those audio waveforms drop below the threshold, like so. And we've got a really nice smooth hum again. So it just sort of helps to show visually what's actually happening with the detector, which is excellent. Okay, so in the middle we've got numbers, and they're used for a couple of things. Ignore that just for now. Now under here, under the numbers, you'll see like a bar. That's used when we do a ground balance. You'll see what happens. Now when your ground balance starts drifting, you'll see the center bar, it sort of starts to expand and it fills out and it goes left and right, indicating that your ground balance has gone out of whack. So when you do a ground balance, the bar comes in and comes into the center, and then you know you're ground balanced. Just under the speaker icon here, we got 2 bits of information that's toggling. Fine, so it tells us what timing we've selected, and it's also told us what coil we've selected, and I'll get to that in a minute. On the other side of the screen over here, we've got a little globe and a number. That's basically our backlight level. So if I hit the backlight button, it turns off. Got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, now if we want to go in and see what adjustments we have, remember these are our navigation buttons, left and right, and you'll see along the bottom here we've got a bunch of icons. So let's see what we got. Okay, so the first adjustment is threshold. So if we want to adjust the big plus and minus buttons, and you'll see that center line starts to get thicker and thicker as your threshold goes up. Basically just representing your signal volume, your threshold volume, sorry. So that's on 4, I can still just hear it. 3 is very faint. 2 is really faint. 1 barely audible. And 0 switches your threshold off. Now it'll still detect things on 0 threshold, but you may lose a little bit of sensitivity. So I like to just hear it in the background. That's on 2. Okay, we'll go along the menu and see what else we got. We've got tone. Okay, in order to show you tone, I need to turn the threshold up a little bit. So we'll just go back, turn that threshold up a little bit so it's nice and obvious. Okay, now I can demonstrate the tone. So pretty simple. It just adjusts the frequency or the pitch of the threshold tone and also your target signals. So that's a very personal one. You should check that on targets and set it to where you hear the target signals the best. Not where you hear the threshold the best, but where the target responses are most obvious to your hearing. Next one, we've got frequency scan. Now in the menu, like we see here, all these bars across here, they're all our available channels. And you can see some are really high and some are really low. The blank one is the current one that's selected, and you can see that that's the quietest one out of the whole range. Now to do an auto scan, we actually need to be in the main screen and not in the menu. So we'll jump out of there and we press and hold our noise cancel button. Now some detectors play you a singing tone, some sort of give you the audio feedback in real time, some will give you a little status pie chart as it's doing it. This doesn't play you any audio, but it shows you the noise levels at the different channels, which is cool. Okay, so the detector's happy. So now if we want to sort of have a look, we can see now the scan has been updated, and along that whole scale there's a couple of channels that are fairly quiet. There's probably about 3 that are the same, and the detector's picked this one. So if you wanted to pick a different one, you just go along the scale and we've selected that one. Alright, detection mode. We've got 4 options here, and the different modes are basically different timings of the electronics to give us different performance. There's 2 different characteristics here, from left to right. The left one is the most sensitive and the right one is the least sensitive. At the same time, the right one is best for highly mineralized soils and also salty soils, and then the one on the left is the worst for highly mineralized soils. So you'll pick the mode based on where you're detecting and also what type of targets you want to find. So if you're out in some normal medium type mineralization and you want to find small gold, ultrafine is probably going to be the best. If you're taking this down the beach and you want to find some coins, we probably go over to large. Large is the one we recommend for salt. So what are all our options? Ultrafine, we've got fine gold, little bit less sensitive, handles the ground a little bit better. Depth is about the same depending on the target. You may pick up a fraction more on a more solid bit of gold. Then we've got normal gold. So this is when your gold starts to get that little bit bigger. We're not looking for specimens now. We're looking for nice little sluggy nuggets. Even if they're quite small, it'll still get them depending on your coil. but this is going to handle the bad ground better than the fine and the ultra fine. And then the last one is large. So this is the least sensitive mode, but it's going to give us our best depth on larger targets, and I'm talking sort of coin sized targets, big flat pieces of gold, and also in very bad ground and salty soils. This is the way to go. So you've got 4 different modes to pick from, and together with the quite broad sensitivity range, you've got quite a bit of adjustment for different targets and different terrains. So what do targets sound like? Very nice, sharp signal responses. Okay, the next function that we've got mic volume. So what's this all about? It says on the screen, plug in headset to activate mic. There is a little ambient microphone built into the detector, and it basically captures your environment, which some people find pretty important. So if you're running a set of headphones, that obviously blocks out your ability to hear your environment, which on a windy day it's really nice. But if you're somewhere where you've got some dangers, snakes or bears or other things that might want to attack you, it might be good to turn your mic on, and it basically feeds in a little bit of that ambient noise into your headphones. Okay, the last thing we've got in the menu is a coil calibration function. So what does this actually do? It alters the detector's sort of internal settings so that it's in perfect harmony with the particular coil that you have selected. Now, coils have a certain tolerance that they need to meet in terms of capacitance and inductance, but you know, they can be slightly off. So good enough to work on the machine, but it's difficult to get them identical. Basically, there's always a slight amount of variation. So this basically optimizes to take into effect some of those slight little variations. We've got five different slots. So they're sort of like save slots. So if you've got 2 coils, you can take up the first 2 positions. If you've got 3, 4, 5. So basically you can save up to 5 different coils. Now I'm on 17 by 13, but I've got a little 8 by 680 coil on. So we're in the wrong one. And it's up here, it's saying hold the minus and the plus to calibrate. So let's go down. So we select 8 by 6 and it says ready to detect. That's because I've calibrated this one previously. So let's say I changed coils. 12 by 8, it's happy. 14 by 9, it's happy. 12 by 12 it's happy. That's just 12-inch round. So we'll do it on here. I'll show you how it calibrates. So we press the minus and the plus. Gives us a little percentage and the little coil icon starts flashing. When you're doing this, make sure it's nice and still and just sort of wait patiently. Doesn't take very long. And it says ready to detect. So when you start your machine up, that's probably the first thing to check, is to make sure that you've got the right coil selected, which I'm not, and now I am. Okay, the last menu option is just miscellaneous. It shows us a bit of information, what version, serial numbers of the unit, and it tells us hold minus and plus to factory reset. And the last one there says hold, and it's an icon which you can't really see, but it's a dot, which is actually our backlight button. So hold the backlight button to toggle the display theme. So that basically just inverts it from black background with white writing into a white background with black writing. So I'll just hold the backlight button down, and there we go. We've changed our theme. So that will depend on the light that you're in, whether it's sunny or overcast, or whether you're at night. One or the other is going to give you better visibility. Okay, so let's pretend we wanted to go detecting. So first thing we need to do is go and pick what mode we're going to be in. Okay, I don't want to be in large, I want to be in fine. Then let's do our auto noise cancel. So get out of the menu. Do our noise cancel. Okay, now let's adjust our sensitivity. Just want to see at what point does the noise start becoming audible. About on 23. Now I am indoors, so it's pretty amazing how high you can actually get it. So if I was out in the field, I'd probably drop it to just where I'm just hearing the occasional little peak, but before it gets too erratic. So the last thing we do out in the field is do a ground balance. And you'll see that in the middle we get a flashing coil. That tells us we're in the auto ground balance mode. Now obviously here there's no mineralization, so it's already ground balanced. It's basically just detecting air. And remember, in that corner there, just a little reminder, we're in fine, and we've actually selected 8x6. So at the top of the screen we've got these two numbers in the middle, and what that demonstrates is the soil mineralization level. It also shows a conductive target ID in the pinpoint mode, which is a nice feature to have, and I'll demonstrate that out in the field. Now these little bars on the side here is basically signal intensity, which I can quickly show you just by sweeping some targets across the coil. You'll notice that the indicator sometimes goes right and sometimes left. That's basically to do with the high and low tones of your signal response. So when it goes high, the indicator bars will show on the right, and when it goes low, you'll see it on the left. Low, high, low, high. Now these two numbers over here is our dual ground balance numbers, and you'll see that out in the field when we can actually do a ground balance.